season 3 of the Village Sessions podcast.
Bringing wisdom home.
We're stoked to be here.
Sweet summertime.
Summertime.
Yeah.
We have a new guest. We have a new podcast
Yes.
guest.
We have him here probably for the whole season, unless he's in Kyle's arms. I gave birth to our third child, and these ladies walked in pretty much right after he came out.
Mm-hmm.
After
And-
you ushered him to the world, we were
That's
like,
right.
hey,
what's
oh my
up?
gosh, hey.
It was glorious. If you're in Rooted Families, I know you guys listened to our full birth story in there. We sat down and Michelle was like, let's do it interview style. So we got interviewed.
Yeah.
And
That was fun.
we got to talk through our process of just the most incredible experience and just living out the principles of, literally just putting your money where your mouth is. And what did you post on your stories? You were like, practicing what I preach. I feel like that birth experience was practicing what I preach.
We walk the talk around here.
Yeah, we walk the talk.
Yeah.
Honestly, the last, what was it, the prenatal episode? That was last season, right? Season 2. You literally embodied every single thing that we touched on in that episode.
You guys go rewatch that. Everything I spoke, I was like, I know I'm gonna
have a lesson here.
I know I'm gonna have a lesson here, and I'm going to just move right through it, and that's what happened.
Well, and even that day, Molly and I were like, today's the day.
Yeah.
yeah,
We knew it.
yeah.
So Molly comes up with Kua, and
Yep.
we took a nap, and then Kyle called, and I'm like, here we go. We knew
Like,
it.
Hua ka'i over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, literally, if we could sum it up with one phrase, if you go back to that episode, your life is your prenatal, and what if you just gave birth as a natural part of living? That was the exact birth experience. We just had our normal, wonderful day, and he came at the end of it, and that's what happened. It was just so seamless.
Yeah.
So good.
So
good.
we're summertime, season 3. This whole season is going to go into pretty much the whole season of summer.
Yep.
And then it's going to complete with our live show.
Woo, woo.
The West,
Yes.
the West
Coast
West
Sessions.
Coast Sessions. We are going to Southern California. We are teaming up with Rome Homeware. Huge fan.
So stoked about
Yeah,
that space.
it's going to be epic.
That vase that
Oh, yeah, over
here
Michelle
on this
has
side.
on her shelf is from them. And so many things in my home.
It's gorgeous.
I love their collection, and recently they had started hosting live events at their warehouse, and we were like, what about a live podcast show?
Yeah.
And we've been chatting with Elise, who is the co-owner, and we're headed there. So we're going to be there. September 27th is our live show. There's still some tickets available, and we'll put the link in the show notes for that if you guys want to come join us. And it is going to be an audience chosen topic.
I am so stoked about that too. We're gonna send out for everybody who's purchased a ticket. We'll send out an email and poll, and then we'll gather the themes and decide from there what we're gonna chat about.
Yeah. What else is new?
What else is new? Well, Vessel Village enrollment. So our virtual community enrollment period is August this month. So that just opened. So at the time of this, whenever this podcast released, you'll have about 15 more days to get in there, get the doors open.
Yeah.
What else is new?
New.
Oh, postural blueprint method.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
For practitioners.
For practitioners, so September the 11th, we start with the video call and classroom portion. So that's going to last until the beginning of January. And then we're traveling. So we'll be on the mainland.
Early 2026.
Right. With practitioners who have been in the calls, and we'll be calibrating with moms and babies. So we're super stoked about that.
Yep. Still deciding on location.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as that drops in, we'll announce that as well.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the village birth, we updated the village birth with a postpartum module, which has been so transformative for the women that are in there. I mean,
And for me.
Yeah, you too.
Just to go back through those BOFOs
Yeah.
over and over again.
And I feel like a lot of women in your community specifically have given you feedback
Yes.
on it.
Well, especially because it was just so up close and personal to my own experience first few days. And then we basically documented their first postpartum visit where they came to the house and just, checked in on me and on Arlo, just calibrating my breastfeeding. It's not a tutorial, but it's just it's demonstrating what this looked like. And then I think it's like a 30-minute long video
It's
where
long,
it's
yeah.
clips of what that looked like. And then Michelle did a voiceover at the end as we transitioned into postural blueprint method calibrations and movement. And so the postpartum module is basically 3 postpartum specific bow flows, 1 for the first few days, 1 for the first few weeks, and then 1 for the first few months. So you can literally lay in bed with your babe. You can roll over to your belly. I just paid attention to what my body craved. And then Amanda Sapita and I curated postpartum specific bow flows for the people in the community. Our super fun topic of the day that is going to be so like boom, boom. You're going to be able to see your life, engage with the practical application, and be able to just kind of zoom out and look at the picture of essentially what you have programmed into your subconscious about how you are with your children, how we see children, how we are as humans, that changed in the coming of the Industrial Revolution, and then what has been programmed to us since then. And then basically an opportunity, an invitation, if you will, of reinstilling and repatterning some of these more primal ways of being, and especially when it relates to babies, to our kids.
I think it's so fascinating when people are, especially new parents, and they're feeling out their parental like vibe. You know, they're trying to figure out who they are as parents. They have the model of the people around them being parents, maybe grandparents or whatever. But there's so much that comes through our culture and our families of origin that is assumed. It's the presumption that somehow what was happened and what happened and what was done is correct because that's what we know, and it's rarely ever questioned.
It's all unconscious.
Right.
It
just
stays
goes
hidden.
right
Yeah,
in.
it goes,
Right.
It's a program.
Yeah. And the place that I see this the most is with the holding of a baby.
1000%.
Isn't it wild?
And containers in general.
Yeah.
Like
You
containment.
start in the beginning with swaddling.
Right.
And then there's the whole the two-handed head booty hold down. Like
Pressed into the chest.
yeah, flexed, compressed.
And then there's the side one.
Right, the
where-
cradle.
The cradle.
Cradle.
Where the head's here.
Where they're still flexed.
and they're flexed in.
Right.
Yep. And that goes into breastfeeding.
Yeah. Oh.
And you come here and you bring their legs around you and their head in tucked.
Right. And then making it impossible to open the mouth.
Yeah. They can't, they're like this.
Right. It's almost impossible like to latch in that position. And if they do, it's very compensated, right? So I know like in spaces where I'm teaching practitioners to facilitate breastfeeding, hopefully without touching a lot and getting involved, but just guiding the parent to make the adjustments, right? And that's why I actually really love working via Zoom, because you can just make the suggestion and then watch the lights come on for the parent. And then it's like, oh, whoa. I'm like, yeah, you did that all on your own. Isn't that amazing?
You
right?
did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you did
just
that.
emphasizing that to mothers and for them to feel that.
Yeah, you did that. Instead of like someone, especially like in the lactation field, being right there trying to compress or adjust or whatever and getting their hands, all in the situation. But I find that the moms that are able to make the changes on their own, it just goes in, it's deeper, it's more real, it's more connected, it's more cause and effect. They've got the immediate neuroplasticity with look what I did, look what my baby did.
There's also a naturalness because they're doing it themselves, so
Right.
that there's going to be a nuance, right?
Right.
So it's like maybe not the way that I would have brought the head back
Yeah.
and the booty back. It's like their own way of like, oh, this is how we do that.
Yeah.
This is what that looks like to me.
Yeah. And it has this almost like it's a beautiful neutral feel to it. It's not too elevated or too depressed because somebody's in the way, but all of a sudden it's now the new reality. I love that part of that. But it's always fascinated me that the way that protective, compressed hold is so, it's very sympathetic dominant.
Definitely.
Right? It's a very sympathetic dominant, like protection.
Well, if you think about it, you're literally tucking the parasympathetic zones,
Right.
like from a nerve
Right.
standpoint, protect or tucking though, so there's protection.
Right.
So you reduce your ability to breathe. You shunt blood to different areas.
Right. We're getting ready to run.
We're getting ready to run. We're fighting.
Yes.
My amygdala's on fire. My hindbrain's taking over. Where are we going?
Yep.
You know, nothing's going to happen.
Usually there's like aggressive padding associated.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And the big jarring like movements and all
bigger
that. You're like,
movements.
what's happening here?
Well, this is whenever you work with people in postural blueprint method, you often ask people, well, how does that feel whenever you get into that position as an adult?
Yeah.
Just put yourself into the lens of a baby for a second. And everybody just like, buckle up here. Just the idea of tucking your, maybe I'll cut this.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. You like tucking your pelvis under and then tucking your chin down.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the holds are here too, where it's like you hold the baby here and you're literally like cutting off their ability to take a deep breath. And I think this is where a lot of confusion comes in, or the program comes in. We'll say that the program comes in because people go, I know. It's like the thought goes, well, this is safety. This is how babies look. It reminds them of the womb space because it's safe and protective. And your perspective, that was mind-blowing to me years ago, that I'm still just like, whoa, even with my third child, having these experiences with is, yes, the child begins like that, but then they unfurl.
This sacred
That's the design.
geometry is all unfurling.
Yes.
But then also for the people who are losing their minds right now about the nervous system, right? We can feel them.
We
right?
we got
feel
you. Too. Yeah.
That the dynamic ability to go into flexion and come out of it and back and forth is key.
The dynamism. But the dynamism comes from the main caregiver.
Right.
That's the real key.
Right.
That's not the baby's responsibility necessarily.
Right.
It's the co-regulation. It's the
Right.
that dyadic consciousness that's created.
Right.
That's what creates the ability for the dynamism for the baby to come in and then they have full freedom to do whatever, like multiple planes of motion, multiple expressions of nervous system regulation or coherence.
Right.
I feel like I get DMs pretty often asking a question about, well, my baby's uncomfortable if I open them up. In which case, your response usually is like, is your baby breaking rapport with you?
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like, is your baby breaking rapport with what you just said? Is that it's going in from the caregiver? And so if we're doing to a baby and opening them up because we saw some video on Instagram or whatever.
Now they're really not safe.
Yes, completely. We're like, you got to do this.
It's like, I've been doing the living adjusted reels and I've been taking my baby upside down and it's just not working. They just really hate it. I'm like,
Imagine that.
yeah, there's more to that story.
Yeah.
There's an energy story. There's a nervous system story. It always begins with the mother.
Yeah. That's why, the whole do to, whether it's a move you saw on a reel that is not embodied, that the do with is a lot different than people imagine. Just because you're doing it with your baby doesn't mean you're not doing it to your baby. There's a whole piece there. And the moving from the inside, I know this is something you've been exploring lately is when you're with Arlo doing different things, how he will take his movement and literally transfer it to his central channel and then open from that space and then transform his whole body like really, really quickly. But now you understand his movement cues so differently that you can't not do it.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
I was just telling them right before we recorded that my most recent revelation, and I'm realizing, well, here's one more unconscious program that I get to repattern here, is if Arlo is uncomfortable and the unconscious program is, oh, I'm just going to like bounce him or sway him, or I'm going to like, maybe even more of a program would be, I'm going to distract him. I'm going to, change the scenery, which might be like, these are all things.
Those are strategies.
We're not calling them
Great
wrong.
things,
We're not calling them wrong. And then what my most recent revelation was, oh my gosh, Michelle was like, do you hear whenever he's uncomfortable like that, he's asking you for feedback and for you guys to connect there. And once I was like, oh my gosh, if I just slow everything down enough and get quiet enough where I'm able to see that. And if he's uncomfortable, you don't quicken your pace. You actually slow it even more down. You hold the tension of that, and then being able to interact with him with his feedback cues and then be able to readjust his body. Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
He feels way more at home in his body.
Completely.
One of the things that I've noticed, and I've started taking a more proactive stance with, is when I'm working with, say, mother and father and the baby, love it when the dads are there, you know, and dads are so intuitive and natural when it comes to this kind of movement. We've always seen that. I've always seen that with the dads being present. You've seen it in your practice too.
And just the play. I think the whole energetic relational element between mom and baby versus dad and baby, it's completely different.
It's so different, and it's so big too. And so the thing that I've noticed is when I'm able to facilitate a mother and father and a baby, and they have these ahas and these awarenesses, and everything's starting to come online, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I'm like, this is amazing. You're doing fabulous. Keep going, and teach your parents how to do this too.
100%.
So that when you have them hold the baby, or they want to hold the baby, then you're teaching them how to read the baby's movement cues, because a lot of the cues that babies give us are movement cues. There's feeding cues, but there's also movement cues. And so the movement cues are typically what gets missed, right?
Yes.
And that's also why, and this is in like understanding of the swaddle culture and the container culture, is that people think that holding in settles them, but it's really more of a version of shutdown.
Exactly. It
Right.
diminishes the cueing,
Right.
Yep.
whether it's the feeding cue or the movement cue.
Right. And so it changes the nervous system.
Yeah. Well, it changes the nervous system. It changes their feedback, their ability to give feedback, and then your ability to perceive it, obviously,
Right.
because you're shutting it down. But I was going to say too, I feel like a lot of women will confuse movement cues for feeding cues.
Oh, all the time.
And so like you're saying is like,
Yes.
usually it's like, oh, I'll go into this bigger emotions or like distraction or something. And a lot of times it's like they take them to the breast right away. It's something I actually learned from Yolanda Norris Clark, which was such a random, just like cueing tip for motherhood. But she would say, I don't bring, when my baby's unsettled or crying or something, I look at them and I give them a second and I say like, what's up? What's happening? What do you need? Versus like,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know where that started actually.
Even Ina
Anime.
talked about this back in the 70s.
Back in the day.
Okay.
It's the pacification is what she calls it.
Interesting.
I was going to say it's the human pacifier.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because my midwife mentor, Wapia, would even say, you can overfeed a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And then before I had a baby, I'm like, how would you ever overfeed a baby? Like this
And then you get it.
And then you get it when you have, and you're like, oh, they don't always want my nipple.
Right.
They don't,
Right.
that's not
Right.
always what
Right.
the thing is.
Yeah.
There's multiple cueings.
Yes. And I think that even with that, there's some nuance where, let's say moms are like, yeah, we don't use pacifiers, but we'll use the breast as the pacifier. And that's actually like, I 100%,
Me too.
this was a
You're-
program that I had with
you're
my
in that.
firstborn. Yeah, where I'm like, this is the pacifier. And then I'm like, no, it's still pacification.
Yeah. It's still lack of communication.
What am I
Yes, yes.
pacifying?
Yeah, it's still lack of communication. It's still message sent, message
or
yeah,
whatever.
it's
Shut
like,
down or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Be
still,
calm.
It's
Yes.
still like the communication miss there.
Yeah.
Completely.
And I think, in preparation for just like even chatting about this episode, we've talked about a little bit industrialization kind of brought in a lot of these, I don't know, bottle feeding and sitting in a container, or like women sitting in a chair, changing their physiology to the way that they would express and then give birth and then hold their babies and how they would move with their babies essentially. And I was thinking about just that protective piece. It really does feel resonant with the movement demands that we have on our bodies now as humans.
Oh,
It's like tucking.
Yeah.
Like this is how we sit. We sit at our desk. We don't have movement availability. We don't have demands on our body to go squat, pick up water, process food, hunt.
Completely.
yeah.
And so it's really like kind of these children growing up, it's the function of their physical frame is resonant,
Right.
which is crazy. But the physiology and the actual chemical responses and the physiologic processes, like the digestion, for example, or the breathing, it's out of rapport with.
Right.
So it's like almost this tension between how does my body really want to like function and then my movement. Like this is the only movement I get. You know what I
Boom.
mean?
Yes.
I'm going to be in a container. I'm going to be in a container for the rest of my life. I'm going to
Yeah.
be in a car seat. I'm going to be in the stroller. And then I'm
Yep.
going to be sitting at a desk in a classroom. And then I'm going to grow up.
It's the runway.
Yeah, that's their runway.
Yeah. Well, don't we see it all the time when we're talking to mothers about moving your body?
Yes.
And they're like, what do you mean?
They don't connect it.
And
You know what's crazy is
What?
exercise and movement, two completely different things.
yeah.
Like when someone says movement now, a lot of the women will be like, well, I do.
They give you the exercise
Yeah,
list.
they give you the exercise list, or like I do bow spring once or twice a week
Yeah, nice.
for that 20-minute period. Or
Sorry.
whatever it is. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. That's the whole
Sorry.
thing.
The
Sorry,
most
not
common
sorry.
one that I see is, well, I already run around all day with my toddler.
Yeah, that is common too.
And a lot of that movement is tucked, compressed, reactive response. Or like I chase my toddler around all day. That's what it is. I chase my toddlers around all day.
To inhibit their movement? Or
Yeah.
what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Keep them
Was
safe from
was
the walls
was
that
that
they're
wrong?
climbing.
Yeah.
Okay, never
Why are we
mind.
chasing them around? And so even looking at the picture, like being able to actually audit, like really honestly
Yes.
audit your movement from a very objective perspective and be like, oh, like, am I just reacting, responding, once again, tucked, bending down, standing up, collapsing whenever I'm tired? Like that is a lot of the picture of the modern American, mom of two under two kind of movement from day to day.
Yeah, it's interesting too to even think about like I guess Hawaii is just a really good picture of what has kind of happened with the more indigenous ways of, moving, breathing, being in the world. And I was thinking about this from multiple perspectives, right? So it's not just the movement perspective or like the economic perspective when we like put people in factories and sat them in a chair or put them in a school system and sat them in a chair. There's also this, and this is kind of what you built. This is what you built your Mile Wild framework around, was the connection between the land. So you touching the ground, right? Your connection with God, and then connection to each other. And then where have we gone? This is kind of the brief history that I'm familiar with as far as what had happened to people here on the island. They were walking around like barely in clothes, and then their bare feet were on the ground. And then this group of people came in and said, hey, no, we need you to be like civilized or modernized. And this is how
And
that
modest.
looks. And modest, yeah.
Modest.
And this
Even
is how
down
that
to the
looks.
shoes.
Exactly. You put shoes on they plant caave trees near the near the beach so that
Right.
people are literally required. It's thorny. It's like a thorny bush. So people are literally required to put something between the land and their feet for protection. Protection again, right? Protection keeps coming up. And then put protection on your body so you're not like being so exposed to the sun. And then also modesty. And then the religious element, you need to read this text or practice this specific thing in the way that I do it because this is the right way. This is the moral, just way. The economic and the political structures here, we're going to make everybody have like a plot of land and put a name to it. And then you have to pay taxes. And then we're not going to do like the currency that you are used to, trading coconuts and fish and deer. We're going to trade fiat currency, but then we'll provide a way for you to get fiat currency. So we're going to put you in a pineapple field, or we'll put you on a, sugarcane field. And then we'll put you into groups of people where you can't interact with them and they speak different languages,
Right.
and take that connection away even
Right.
further. So it's like these protective elements is like, creating more system structure. I'm not saying that modernization is wrong. There are so many benefits. Obviously we live it every day. But just the disconnection between God, the land, and other people.
Yeah. That's the definition of civilization and modernization to a certain extent.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is the severing of those natural
ties.
connections that were always there, and then something came in and said, that's wrong, don't do this. And that's just a trickle down, right? Until we had some semblance of that, probably until like the 30s and 40s, between the 20s and the 50s, like after the Great Depression.
Well, even I feel like my husband and I were talking about this a little bit, and he was like, yeah, when did chairs come into play? Was it after the
Right.
Great Depression?
Ooh, so
I don't know the specific history. But
well, chairs like
the
furniture.
way, furniture and the way
chairs.
that we know it now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can see, like from a history book, like men and women stooping on different, like sitting low
stool.
squat. Yeah,
Yeah.
like on a stool or a low
Yeah.
squat on something
Yeah.
in the Great Depression era. So it's not that long ago.
Oh, well, I mean, if these are true or not, we don't know. But the photos from like the 1800s, so it's been even longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, and since we were seated on the ground and having to get up off the ground. But that's so funny because like I can remember when my children were small, and I would hold my baby and lower myself into the floor and get up out of the floor holding a child. No big deal. It was like boom, boom, no problem.
Totally.
And people today can't even do it. I'm older than they are, and they don't have that ability. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Somebody literally said this to me at the beach yesterday because I'm pregnant holding my almost 2-year-old.
Getting up and down off the sand.
And I got up off the sand. They're like, wow, you're so strong. I'm like,
Yeah.
Question mark.
Question
Like,
mark.
Yeah.
like, is that strength? Like, truly. I mean, I guess, sure, in their
See,
definition.
that loss of agility.
Yes.
That's what's being communicated. And so our children are like, they know they need to move, and yet it's so foreign to the parents because the parents they go from their car to their desk to their kitchen table to their bed to their in front of the TV, and they never like do that. It's just not part of their day. And the children are like, yeah, we don't have an imprint for that.
No, we don't have an imprint for movement. We
Right.
don't have an imprint for touching the ground. I mean, I feel like we can all probably relate, and everybody watching could relate to when you started hearing about the word grounding, just grounding or earthing.
And
It
people
was
were
like,
like,
ooh,
people
this
were
is
like,
hippie. This is new age.
too. It's just I'm
but
crashing
why
out
would you
now.
do that?
See, but you guys remember that because I know, like, when I was a child, I mean, we played outside barefooted. I mean, did you?
We did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the Midwest.
Okay.
On a
And
farm.
so so at what point was that not a thing?
That the questions
That's
I
the question.
get, some of you guys might be listening and maybe have asked these questions before. I get questions all the time of, so how did you start
Being barefooted
removing
outside?
shoes? Yeah, I was like, I never put the shoes on.
It's funny because my son now, like traveling and stuff, he sees people in shoes.
Yes.
And so he wants to wear them. So I don't know how we'll navigate that later, but he's always like, shoes, shoes, shoes. I'm like, it's pretty cute. Yeah. But on a day-to-day basis, it's just not like when you get up in the morning and you go outside, nobody's slipping on like boots or
Totally.
shoes or,
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. And whenever we go to the mainland, we typically have to go buy shoes
I
for
know,
wherever we're
right?
going, which is kind of comical.
It is.
And I think I went and got in my Forerunner the other day, and I looked down and went, oh, I don't have shoes on. Let me go get,
Yeah.
let me go get some shoes.
Yeah.
So it is funny that way how where you live is also a big driver with that
Yeah.
as well. And yet on the mainland and in cities and modern areas, people hardly ever go without shoes,
Totally.
Literally.
right?
Totally.
I can remember being in chiropractic school in Dallas, Texas. And this was kind of the time when I heard about like earthing or grounding or like it became hot. It was like 2016, I think, 2015, 2016.
To be barefoot.
To be barefoot, to just be
In the
barefoot.
grass.
No, there was it was like, this is what you're doing for your body. Like it
Yes,
was just like
yes.
that whole
It was
thing.
a concept.
It
Yeah.
was a concept. I'm like, I'll adopt that. I want that, And plus we're like we're in a classroom under fluorescent lighting from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. most days, maybe 3 p.m. if you're lucky, if you don't have a lab or something like that. So in between classes, there's like multiple building structures on the campus. I would always be barefoot walking around, and almost every time somebody would comment,
Wow.
you never wear shoes. Where are your shoes? And I'm like, this is super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm trying to stay connected.
Yeah.
My little thread of connection.
Well, that goes full circle to our conversation when we were kind of prepping for this episode is these programs, and then also what the older generation, the elders might say around a small child, because it's that nervous system response of like, they're vulnerable, they need protection. And in Florida, I remember the 3 most common things that I would hear is, where are his shoes? Where are his clothes? Even if he just didn't have a shirt on, even though it was Florida, it was still an element of like, this isn't right. Third thing was
you're
where
uncivilized.
Yeah, you're uncivilized. Third thing was wear the sunglasses. That was a big thing. I don't know
yeah.
if that's still a thing, but 8 years ago, 7 years
See,
ago,
that hasn't
if
been
not-
since World War II.
Well, if not sunglasses, then sunscreen.
sunscreen. Oh, there we
You know
go.
what I mean?
There we go.
There's another element of protection.
and you think about the conditioning of protection, it's like, so at what point was the message super loud and clear that you could harm yourself or other by doing or not doing certain things? And that's been in the birth world for quite a while,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
I mean, I was called a child abuser because I, home birthed or natural birthed even,
Totally.
and that was just 30 something years ago. And so when you think about that, it's like, how do those concepts get into the mix? Because the grandparents that were like, oh, you have to hold on to your baby because, you'll hurt their neck or whatever. And I'm like, who says who? Because then we've got people like Sister Morningstar who very intuitively at a specific time in a baby's life will hold a baby by their feet, right? And I'm like, now that looks like wisdom to me.
Same. She's swinging these babies around. I'm like, ooh, this looks like
It's
primal.
very primate looking,
yep.
and I love that.
Same.
Yeah.
I felt activated when she's put a couple of videos. Maybe we can link it or something
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But she's put a couple of videos on there on her Instagram.
And I'm like,
same.
yes, that's what we're talking about.
Something in me was activated.
Oh, I was
And-
like 100% like
Yeah.
that's true.
Right. Versus, maybe the cultural narrative is to have that nervous system response of like, oh, how could you do that?
Right.
I don't even know what they would say about the ankle or
Right.
Danger. Or
Danger?
I think it literally is a belief that their neck is just gonna like pop or something. That something's gonna, because that is the deepest programming. I mean, I gave birth to my firstborn in a hospital, and I remember getting a pamphlet in the hospital, and it was like, this is how you hold your baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was actually taught.
pharmaceutical
Yeah.
company
Wow.
funded guarantee.
Propaganda. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was like protection, and then also the biggest thing I remember them honing in on was the head, not letting the head fall because they don't have head control, they don't have the neck strength to be able to hold it up, so being able to protect the head.
We could also talk about a little bit head control if you wanted to touch on it.
Yeah.
You have thoughts on head control between or like ways of mitigating a lot of extension before 3 months, yeah?
Yeah. I think going back to the biological norm, which is the biological norm is the breast crawl.
Yep. That's a very early imprint.
Okay. I mean, it's baby's out, baby's crawling up the breast to latch. I'm sorry, but it's like,
No one's assisting.
no
No
one's
one's holding their
no
head.
one's like, no. And if you've witnessed that or experienced that, then I'm like, and we're worried about like hurting a baby that with, for lack of head control. And there are situations where, the overly medicated baby because of the birth and things like that. Okay, yeah, I get it. We've got to clear those drugs, and then all the reflexes get to come on and all those things, right? All the science that we just love. We think is so cool and so amazing and so correct, right?
But if you're taking a physiologic birth undisturbed,
Right.
and you're talking about a breast crawl,
Right.
completely different scenario.
Right.
Or-
Different situation.
I'll put a picture on the screen of Arlo first hour
Oh
or
my
two after
gosh.
birth.
Yes, please do.
And he's full on in the
He's
deepest,
back bending.
deepest, straight up, head upside down. Like
Was that you watching me from the toilet?
I was watching you from the toilet.
Yeah, and
just
I'm,
how I
and,
do.
and me and
videoing
Arlo
and-
are in there just like getting it, and I'm
Yes.
like, watch this baby go, and he's like,
But no, he was literally like, I cannot describe how it was like his heart was beaming so much light, which is going to sound so trippy to people, but his whole body was like, light was just like filling, it was completely dark in there.
Yeah.
It was red lit, but it was just like so much, I guess, magnetism.
Magnetism.
His field was literally coming online. It was really special.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was, and of course he already knew what to do because he'd been doing it with you for all those months.
Exactly.
And then he comes out and he's like, let's go, Tutu, let's do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is just that picture, that imprint of like whenever you guys see this photo, you'll get to have your own experience of like, how do I feel about that? And what does that mean about these things that I've learned about keep the babies tucked, keep them
Right.
protected? And that baby my baby led that movement. And Michelle is just being there supporting.
He's arch twist, like hand, elbow up. I mean, just like, I'm like,
Yeah. You're
Come
like,
on.
how far do you want to go, buddy? And he's like, keep going, keep going. You're
he
like,
was
all right.
he was in it to win it.
Yeah.
It was a professional grade right there.
Professional grade. And so it really summarizes this overarching principle that we were thinking about, which is that since the Industrial Revolution, and I love this example that you gave with what has happened here as a society, because all of these protective mechanisms that we hear from our grandparents or our great-grandparents are actually cutting us off from our own vitality. Get the shoes on, disconnect the feet to the ground, put the sunscreen on, disconnect the skin to the sun, put the sunglasses on, block what the sun is able to do for your eyes, for your whole mitochondria.
Yeah. Why your kid can't breathe.
Exactly.
Tagging that episode too.
Yep.
Yeah. So with the movement piece, that is we're honing in on, is like the most fascinating pieces of what we unconsciously program and download. Do you guys want to elaborate on the movement piece?
Yeah. I mean, this is your foundational, this is the foundation of all of Mile Wild and all of Postural Blueprint Method
Yeah.
is ability to move.
Yeah.
Having availability in your body, your physical frame, energetic frame, having the resources to be able to maintain movement,
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. That was really instrumental for me when I went through my tongue-tied journey too, was just the movement that I had lost access to as an adult living in the modern world and doing all the things that I was doing as a woman and a mother, and had lost connection with my own dynamic ability to move. And recovering that was like a whole journey. And then as I brought it through my craniofacial orthodontic practice and all of that, I'm like, oh, this is foundational. This is a prereq for anything that you're going to do, like from the head up. So I find that when people are, especially if they've been practicing, like doing the global spring practice, the dynamic movement of the body and what's possible in the body it really just creates a conscious awareness that a lot of people aren't prepared for.
Totally.
Because of the just the multiplicity of variations of movement and directions and space creating and all of that. And it fits so amazingly into the directional geometry that's already present in the cranium and the way that our heads develop, our palates develop, the other day, 2 weeks ago,
1 week ago.
1 week ago,
Yeah.
we checked in, and within, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes, literally you did this through some feedback of looking for his movement cues in different places
Planes,
to help him engage, change the whole shape of his head.
I can even put that picture on the screen right now of morning photo to evening photo.
Right. Yeah. And this is the kind of photos that people who are body workers will show that they did to the baby.
Right.
And I'm like, no. No, actually, we just cued mom, made her aware of some things and how to feed that direction back into his body. And he literally went from a cranial strain pattern that was a pretty obvious one to upright, open, eyes changed, just neck space, all of
Completely.
that. And we didn't touch him.
And that the key principle there with the me bringing that through is that's what I take home.
Yes.
That's how I am. I just said,
Oh,
this is my new way of being with my baby.
right.
Period.
Well, there's two things there that reminds me of is like, that is the difference between you having this embodied experience of movement versus thinking it's exercise. You're not going to go home and do those exercises with him 2 times a day
Exactly.
for 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, when he gives me that cue, this is how we move with him. This is how we help him expand from the inside out. This is how we respond to his needs. This is how we do it. And the other thing that made me think of was just in practice too, I see a lot of women where their babies will be in that collapsed space. Not that Arlo was there, but like that full collapsed, tucked. It's like that shrimp. Like, you know, have you seen those
Yeah.
memes where they talk about like your shrimp posture? It's like they stay there, but then you're expecting them to meet milestone development and have this movement. But all of the milestones that they meet are all an extension.
Right.
Everything requires extension. So if you're even talking about rolling over, you don't roll over in a C shape.
Exactly.
You roll over with extension in the back extensors being activated. Then you push up here, then you crawl here, then you pull up here, and then you walk here. Like that is how the developmental
Trajectory
goes. And then from there, we expect them to breathe. We expect them to
Right.
be expansive in their everyday dynamic movement.
Right.
That doesn't happen here.
Right.
It changes the way that their brain grows. It changes the way that they create new neural connections because they have more movement availability. They can reach over here, or they can like roll when they fall, or prevent, you know what I mean? Like they're more dynamic.
Right.
Literally, when I got home from your house, whenever we were having that new, essentially program for how I am, and it's in the nuance, which is the, go ahead.
You thought it was going to be so much more dynamic.
Yes,
Like there was going to be
that's
so
it.
much more visible movement,
Literally.
but there wasn't.
It was way more in the
He
small
needed
spaces.
very specific
Yes.
guidance
Yes.
in how to take his energetic body and drive it inside and create it from the inside out. That's
Exactly.
very different than what we think it all looks like.
Yep.
And it's so cool, you know, on the outside, but it was so specific and nuanced. You were even shocked. You
Yep.
were like,
And I have had a 3-year experience with Bo enough where you would think that I would
Know that.
think
No,
that I would
but,
know that.
But the whole thing is, the reason it was nuanced for you, and I don't think this is going to be every woman's experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is because you have the awareness in your own body.
yep.
Yeah.
If you don't have the awareness in your own body, it does look way more dramatic for your kid.
Right.
That's really true.
It's like we actually have to take you, like, we have to show you where this expansion can come from.
That's so true.
So it looks dramatic. You know what I mean? Like even the
Yeah.
infant dynamic movement sequence that we've created based on postural blueprint method, there are movements in there that are so extreme to
Right.
women.
Right.
And then if you had that imprinted in your own, if you had that algorithm imprinted in your own body, you would be able to find their nuances.
Yes.
Just like we did with you.
Absolutely.
So I would just say that's the caveat.
Yes. And the same thing goes with, we see this question all the time about like, is my baby sleeping like this? And we're always like, are you in Bo? Are you like creating these nuances in your body? Your baby's going to mirror that. Like it's just there. It just goes so synchronistically back and forth, synergistically back and forth. And something that has been really powerful for me, especially since even this, what we're talking about this last time I was over at Michelle's and I got this embodiment in the nuance and watched what happened with Arlo, is my arms and my shoulders and my frame over the next 3 days were recruiting more of myself. I was more sore. I was more like, I was like, oh my gosh, this whole, I mean, we know this is that it's very obvious. Anybody that uses a container regularly, it's always about, well, I want my arms free. I'm tired. I don't have a village. I don't have support. And I was just thinking like to myself, yes, absolutely. It requires me to be charged. It requires more energy. It requires for me to hold my frame even more so if I'm going to hold my baby in an open posture. And so when we look at the containers and the protection, I'm also just like, it's literally all that we are able to offer.
So true.
With the older generation, or maybe if we're coming from a place where we're you know, this is normal to us, it requires more energy to be here. And so it literally recruits more of your entire being, which is when, Michelle, you were talking about, it brings more conscious awareness online for how you move, how you think, what your patterns are. And then you're like, oh, I can choose to be this. You become more aware of who you are and how you're showing up in your day-to-day life. And so it requires you to look at that. And there's this radical self-responsibility piece again with, this is about how I'm holding my body.
It's so funny because one of the feedback from one of the women that joined the Vessel Village community our first enrollment period, she was saying her hesitation for joining was she didn't want to feel like she was going to get obsessed with her patterns. Did you see that one? or I think we posted it on Instagram of one of the testimonials, but basically she didn't want to feel like it's like that thing where you constantly have to look at the thing if you open up the can.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to have to keep working on this if I open it up. And she's like, oh, I actually just needed to break through. I literally just needed to come online and start taking responsibility. And then things became so much more seamless, so much more easy. I was blocking myself
Completely.
from
Completely.
even opening the can because I didn't want to go all the way down. And she was just saying there's more work to do, you know?
It's the conversation of secondary gains.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, I like my life more when I get to blame everybody else because it's easier for me and it requires less energy and I can just stay in rapport with myself there.
Right.
And I can just keep going.
Well, and that's kind of what we talk about. I use the pyramid of stability to talk about this in the generative biohabits course, which is why that foundation of the pyramid of stability is so important, because conscious awareness runs up the side of the pyramid.
good, yes.
And what we're talking about is the embodiment that is, so for example, when it becomes embodied, you don't have to really think about it anymore. It's unconscious at that point.
It's your new natural.
It's your new pattern. It's your new normal. And then you're not using energy to constantly bring that into your awareness. And the other thing that I'll say about that process too is lately, one of the things that I've heard more women remark about is that they've become so much more aware of their internal dialogue, and that when they get to that point, things really begin to shift. And I'm like, exactly, because it's the unconscious and the subconscious pieces that are actually driving the ship.
Totally.
And then once you get tapped into that and you feel like you have like more capacity to be in that space and quiet with your own internal dialogue, things really begin to shift. And
100%.
it gets really fun at that point.
Yes.
Totally. I would say it gets fun until you bump up into another edge. And
Oh,
then you're like,
totally.
okay, now we're going to navigate this.
Absolutely.
Because if you're thinking about just the topic of today's, chat, thinking about maybe someone being close to their relatives or being close to their grandparents and like having this embodiment shift and this conscious awareness come online and then resourcing themselves and having the energy to maintain it, but then constantly bumping up against whatever the rapport is with the close relationships or the relatives that they have. What advice would you have for that scenario?
I've got a piece. I feel like that, and when I lecture and I speak, I've said this so many times, that the children coming in now are doing us a favor. They're here not to be necessarily parented. They are here as part of the feedback loop to help wake us up to our humanity, because that's the part that's being it's a full on attack of our humanity right now in so many ways. And we're having to really like dig into the connection that we have with land, the connection we have with God, and the connection we have with other. We're having to actually make conscious steps toward those three spaces. And I find that the babies now are here to help us wake up to that. And they aren't going to be able to be their full expressed human selves if we don't wake up to the feedback loops that they require and resource them accordingly, right? Because we've talked about this a number of times where the airway conversation's pretty much done. You're going to give these kids space and they still won't be able to breathe. And there are people that, and we can talk about this in our after session, which we have
Kitchen
an after session.
Kitchen
Oh,
sessions.
Ding, ding. Okay,
Coming
yeah,
up
you
right
heard
after
that
this.
right. And why that's happening. We talk about that in Rooted Family Says, why you can give a kid space and they still can't breathe. The babies are going to be the same way. You can release tongue ties all day long and they're still not going to be able to move because the system's not moving, the family's not moving, those kinds of things. And this is a great opportunity for us, I say you guys and your children, to teach my generation this connection.
Wow.
So it's the healing backwards and forwards.
Yes.
So you guys as examples of these, you know, wild kids who are running around the jungle with barely any clothes on and no shoes and naked kids are here to show us the opportunity that we have to make, now, not me, but you know what I'm saying, my age, 60, the opportunity we have to make those choices so that our remaining years can be really great on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's just kind of how it is.
Completely.
And I feel like that's the opportunity in you guys and your children and your children's children is they're going to run it back for the touchdown with the people who will still listen to them and have a little bit of respect of how the kids now want to be treated and the connection that they require.
Absolutely.
Because people my age missed it. Some of them got it, some of them didn't. It was maybe a 50-50 split. And yet you and your children are not having it. They're not here. They're not about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're like, no, we're actually going to tell, we're actually going to show you
Putting the alarm bells on.
what needs
everything.
to happen.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah. That's the way I'm looking at it. It's my story. I'm sticking with it.
I like it.
Even for like a practical demonstration of holding babies, being like, hey, mom, like this is how we're going to hold her, especially if you live like down the street.
Right,
like,
right.
If you're in close proximity with your parents.
Well, we've talked about this, like
Yes.
even like parents visiting for whatever a concentrated week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks versus living with them.
Yes.
Relationship and conversation would be completely different.
Yes. It's the same exact conversation that we had in episode 1, season 1. You become who you surround yourself with. Who is choosing the center of gravity? What's the center of gravity?
Confirmation or transformation?
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so in the kitchen sessions, which is going to be a private after hours, up close and personal part of our podcast that you can click the link for in the description box, Molly and Michelle, we're going to demonstrate with Arlo literally what you can show your mom, your dad, grandparents, you know, hey, this is how we're going to hold. This is how we're going to hold our babe. And we're going to get in some juicy topics back in the kitchen.
Yeah. Do it. How they hold them and how to not hold them.
Yeah. How to hold them, how to not hold them.
You know, it's good. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. And in the meantime, just like a run through, feedback loops in kids, rooted families. What do you want to say about the vessel with feedback loops for the woman as well? Because you guys have a framework. You guys have a framework in there.
Yeah. The vessel process we take women through. And that literally shows you how to do the inner listening, do the listening on the inside of what is your feedback loop? Where are you receiving the information from your environment, relationships, from your children? And then where are you mismatched in what you say that you want and what you actually, it's a subconscious thing. What the pattern actually what is the pattern that you're running out? And then what do you say that you want? Or what are you avoiding? Right? So finding all of those areas. We have a framework for that.
We have a framework for that in the vessel to teach you how to discover a feedback loop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Untied course would be the infant dynamic sequence that we've been referencing. That's a full course, and Michelle and Molly sitting down, talking through the principles, and then actually showing the movement.
And that would be for practitioners, but also postural blueprint method is for the practitioners if you want to learn how beyond the actual application, you want to learn the philosophy and the framework and how to do with versus doing to babies in practice.
Like, can you even handle not being able to put your hands on a baby and a mom? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's a whole other
Ego.
level.
Ego dies. Ego
death.
And then in Untied is when we actually put the full footage of my postpartum visit with these ladies right here. So the whole calibration of breastfeeding, his movement, the micro movements, all of that we put into footage in 2 follow-up, or it was 1 follow-up visit and then 1 initial visit.
And then we have another mom in there where we've done a visit with, and it's all the side lying breastfeeding and then a cross cradle hold with breastfeeding and how to do it.
In different stages of baby's ages, which is fun. It's like brand new, fresh.
Arlo was
a week
5?
old, 7 days old.
I was going to say
the first one.
Yeah, 5 to 6 days. I think he was
something
actually.
like that.
And then a couple weeks after that.
Yes.
And then the other baby's 3 months.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a nice, like, ooh, okay, growth trajectory. I love that phrase. Growth trajectory, being able to see and drop in and witness.
We have plans to add more to as we, navigate and do some more, I'm going to say hands-on work or just like one-on-one calibration with moms here.
Nice.
On the island. So we'll add some of that more as the course continues to grow.
Amazing. Live show tickets, you can find that in the description box. And we will see you in the kitchen sessions if you're tuning in for that.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye. We're in the kitchen sessions, and yeah, this is basically going to be a one-time purchase, and then you get access to every kitchen sessions after every episode. So that's going to be 7 episodes because our 8th is going to be the live show. And basically, it's just the unedited, the raw version, and
the breakdown of the set is happening in my living room, turning it back to my home.
Yeah.
We're
Got some
cooking.
chicken.
I'm going to be jumping up to go turn the chicken over on the grill, that kind of thing. So this is the real.
kids might be running around, and we're basically just like, it's the behind the scenes, like we may get a little more saucy with the topics, we might have a little more of the demo option of what we talked about in the podcast, and so it's going to be a value where you guys can kind of deepen the experience of the podcast and then get into it from there. So the link for that is in the description box, and we'll see you guys over in the first kitchen sessions.